Hi, I'm Owlbear Rogue. Welcome to the cave. I owe you all an apology. I disappeared for a minute there, and I would love to tell you that I just cast invisibility on myself, trying to keep up with roguish appearances, keep you on your toes. But the truth is that I disappeared because something awful happened. I lost someone very important to me and a lot of other people, and I lost them in a traumatic and unnecessary way. And so tonight I want to talk to you about Dungeons and Dragons, as always, but I want to talk to you about Dungeons and Dragons and grief. It's going to be a bit of a rough ride if you decide to come along. I will warn you. I don't have a script, for starters, which is very dangerous. My voice is garbage. I do not recommend days of crying for your vocal health. My brain is a little bit mushy, a little bit soupy, as happens when you're grieving. It's going to be personal, and it's going to be pretty heavy. So if that is not what you need in your life right now, please click away. Go find one of my other videos, something goofy and fun. Find an adventure for yourself. And come back to this video someday if you find you need it. A few weeks ago, I got the chance to take one of the Halloween adventures that I put out for you all and run it at a local Comic-Con. I took Endless Maze of the Scarecrow King, and if you weren't following along, I released 3 new one-shots. You can catch the videos on the channel here for Halloween in the hopes that you all might take them and run them. If you ran one of the Halloween one-shots with your crew, please let me know and let me know how it went. I took the Endless Maze of the Scarecrow King, and it was beautiful. It ran so well. I had wonderful players all weekend long. We had a blast. I actually got one of the best compliments I've ever gotten as a DM. One of the players was standing up and getting ready to leave, and he said, "Oh, my face hurts from smiling." I loved that. But one of the players lost their character at the end of the game. Everyone else in their party made it out of the maze. They woke up and they saw the scarecrow that had inspired their nightmare, and it was wearing their friend's clothing, and their friend was nowhere to be found. They had been left behind in the endless maze. I have said this many times before, in one-shots particularly, I like to have those really high stakes. It's characters. These weren't even characters that these people had created. These were pre-generated characters that I made and they played with for 2 hours. So the emotional stakes are much lower than a normal game, and I like keeping things dangerous. I like the possibility that there might be something like that happens in a one-shot. But as soon as this person started to get ready to leave the table, they were like, well, they started asking me all these questions that didn't make sense at first. Are you local? Are you do you DM a lot? Are you here? Can I have your email? And I was like, yes, and yes, but what's going on? And he said, well, that can't be the end. We have to play another game. We have to do another adventure. We have to save Grumka or something like that. I don't remember. This orcish fighter. I'm sorry, it was a Goliath fighter. Grumka, that's what it was. We have to save Grumka. And that is one of the beauties, one of the big fantasies of Dungeons and Dragons, isn't it? That we can save everyone if that's what we decide. That the game never has to be over until we're ready. On the internet, for your viewing pleasure, I am this adorable little rogue. She is very cute, and I love her very much. And in my real life, I work with people who are dying and people who are grieving. That is my day in, day out. That's my bread and butter. I've spent a lot of time at bedsides. I've seen a lot of people die. I've held space for many people as they come up again and again against a reality that they just cannot process as real. it's kind of like being an alpine climber. There are certain environments, physical environments, right, that are very, very hostile to humans. But with time and inclination, practice, you can get better at being in them. You can stay in them longer. You can be more comfortable while you're there. And that's true for emotional environments too. A lot of people, your average person tossed into the middle of someone else's grief is going to have a hard time sitting there and being in that. But I have the inclination, I have practice, I've put in the time, and that is what I spend a lot of my time doing. Unfortunately, unlike when I am being a DM, I don't get to make any calls. I don't get to shape the story at all. But there's an element of guidance and companionship there that is very similar. I think of my work, people who are deep in fears of their own mortality, people who are grieving, tend to feel lost. Dying is not a process or an experience that American culture anyway does a very good job of preparing people for. We don't really have a good script for it, a lot of us. And I view my role as if you were lost in the woods, in the dark, how much would it mean to you to have someone show up and say, "Hi, I have a flashlight and I see that you're looking a little lost. I don't know what the end of this adventure looks like for you. I don't know exactly where this path is leading. But I have spent many, many hours here in this forest, and I'm very comfortable in it, and I know all its twists and turns very well, and I'm going to stay with you. I'm going to stay with you for as long as you need." And that's what I do. So when something really awful happens in my real life, in my personal life, it's kind of natural that people turn to me, they look to me, they want me to have more answers than your average person, which sometimes I can provide, but many times I can't. Maybe someday I'll get around to writing the DM's Guide to Death and Dying, but in the meantime, when someone chooses to leave this world, choice isn't really the best word for it. We'll get back to that. But when that happens, no one has any answers. No answers that are satisfying, no answers that really truly help anybody sleep better at night. I met my ex-husband in my mid-20s. We were engaged after knowing each other for 3 weeks. Never let it be said that your gal, Owlbear Rogue, is not impulsive. But I will not pretend that he was not a complicated man. But I loved him very much. And he loved me. Even if he was not always the best at taking care of anyone, especially himself. We were together for many years, and after we got divorced, it took a little time, but we became close again. We became friends. Our love got bigger than romantic love. And knowing that he was on the other side of town, on the other side of the phone if I needed him, knowing that when I saw something that made me think of him, when an inside joke came into my head, when I couldn't remember how to do that one thing with the drain in the bathroom, that he was there was a big part of me feeling like everything was as it should be in the world. We had made a promise to love each other, and even though we didn't keep it in quite the way that we intended originally. We did keep it. Until I got a terrible call one morning from his mother that in the throes of untreated mental health, very deliberately neglected untreated mental health problems, and a lot of alcohol, he made a decision that could not be unmade. He did a thing that could not be undone. And ever since I got that terrible call, I have been grieving, and I've been doing what I do, what I know to do. I have been supporting his family, whom I love, as best I can. I've been supporting his girlfriend of many years, whom I love, as best I can. But for myself, in my own head, I can't help but play the part of the DM and imagine all the different story beats that could have been written a little bit differently, and all of the roles that could have gone a little bit better. All the ways I could have tweaked things behind the screen to get us to a different ending. But that's not the way it works, right? We do not live in that fantasy. There's no talisman, no mysterious cleric, no powerful potion, no wish spell, no crit on your death saving throw that is going to bring him back. In real life, the class that I've chosen, working with people who are dying and experiencing loss, is something like a cleric. But I don't have any religion, I don't have any special deity giving me magical powers. I just have the desire to help. And my species is only human. Nothing is more human than grieving. People ask me all the time, how do you do what you do? How do you spend your time constantly with people who are grieving? And I always say, spoiler alert, you also spend all of your time with people who are grieving. Everyone around you, I promise, is carrying someone, something they wish was still here, an ending that they wish they could rewrite. So how do we do it? How do we carry this heavy human thing? For me, Dungeons and Dragons is a big part of that answer. The most important, the most magical thing that Dungeons and Dragons has given to me is community. I have the wildest, most wonderful people in my life because of this game. Some of them I met through the game. They were playing D&D, and so was I. And guess what? That means we're going to be friends forever. Some of them were acquaintances that I pulled in, roped them into a game, and now many years later, many adventures later, we're friends. Some of them were old friends that I had trouble keeping up with until we got a game going, and now we have a time every week that we get together and go on adventures. When your whole world falls down, when grief strikes, community is exactly what you need. It can feel like you want to go hole up somewhere by yourself for a while, and that's fine. That can be part of the process too. But eventually you need your whole village. And because of Dungeons and Dragons, my village is so big and so wonderful. And it's full of people who are problem solvers, who are creative, who are empathetic, who are capable of putting things aside on their schedule to be there for you. And I'm deeply grateful for them, as I'm grateful for you. You are community that Dungeons and Dragons has brought into my life. You have supported me over these months. You have built me up. You've encouraged me. And I know you're going to be part of doing that for me now. and I'm deeply grateful for all of you who've been along on this journey. When we're children, we all play pretend. And we know now, science understands so much more than we used to about how important play is. It's where children build real world skills. They explore, they learn about who and what they want to be in the world. And I don't know why anyone stops. A lot of us, especially right here, just didn't. If you are an adult who is playing a TTRPG, you are still pretending and you're still learning all those life skills. You're still learning who you want to be in the world. D&D can give us maps, let us practice things that we're going to need to do. I know there's some of you listening right now who have had characters that you've played for maybe years that you loved and were attached to, spent so much time inhabiting, and they died in the game. And as a group, as a community, you had to figure out how to say goodbye, memorialize them in some way, let their legend live on. And I know there are some of you listening right now who have an empty seat at your gaming table for a real person that you miss, that you wish was there. And maybe, just maybe, you were able to give their character a more poetic ending, a better goodbye than you were able to in real life. That is an important function of play. It is an important thing that these games can give to us. Friends, I could go on this topic for a very long time, but I'm going to wrap things up because I am tired to my bones. Grief is nothing if not exhausting. So I will leave you with this. If you are grieving that empty spot at your metaphorical gaming table tonight, you are not alone. I'm grieving with you. Be gentle with yourself. Drink some water. Have a snack, even if it doesn't sound very good. Take a bath and roll some dice. Yeah? Let your village hold you up. And if you are thinking tonight that your adventuring party might be better off without you, know that you are irreplaceable. No one can roll up a new sheet for you. You are the rarest of treasures. Besides, I tell my clients all the time, you've got all eternity to be dead. It is life. It is life that is the rare thing, the precious thing, even at its hardest. And I know a lot of us are feeling exactly how hard that is. Take a chance, even if what you do is just think of tomorrow as an adventure. Stay with us. Stay at the table. Your party needs you. I love you all. Thank you, as always, for exploring the depths of sadness with me, Owlbear Rogue.